the Fast and Furious we go now, of course, with match number 24 over in League One. Who's going to come out on top? Who's going to take home a bit of a stinker? We're going to take a look at that and more next. That's right, folks. Babs Gamer prediction video today for match number 24 over in this year's League One. And we'll get to that in just a second. If you know where you've been, smash your subscribe button back to all things League One related, Baba Rose related, world football related. We got it all here, boys. Under one roof. Of course, a bit of a disclaimer here, guys. I'm actually recording this way before Boxing Day. I'm actually recording on the 23rd of December because a bit of craziness going on our end, up and down the country, driving. So I don't have the time to record in between the games. So it's going to be very, very difficult for me to do that. So I thought, I want to keep the prediction lead going and don't want to be at a disadvantage, but so we're going to record the next couple of games ahead of schedule and see how well I get it on. Well, you'll see what I mean in just a second. Of course, big shout out to the VIPs. They are the patrons, of course. But anyway, let's take a look at what we're talking about. We're talking about this. Let's jump in the vortex, of course. And yeah, we're coming at you on looking forward to these games and the rest before I return actually in person. So these were the games, the Boxing Day games. Of course, we don't know. They're all a mystery. So, but of course, my predictions are on the left-hand side. I just want to put this up there as a reminder of what we did way back then. And I can't bring it back up to date with the prediction league for the time being, but we are going to take a look at the games itself on this match day number 24. Of course, a reminder though of the league. The league looks like this. As you can see, Plymouth, Argyle, as of recording, we're top. Bins 2 points clear over Ipswich Town with Wednesday, Barnsley, Bolton, and Derby in the playoffs. Going down there, Morecambe, Burton, MK Dons, and Forest Green Rovers. Of course, remember these are what I am looking at today as of recording. But when you look at this, it could be completely different, of course. If you do want to get involved with the Prediction League, it is free. /League One. It is, of course, get your name in light. So we are on the verge of kind of resetting the blocks a little bit. We're still going to have the Master Leaderboard, but we're going to have a second half of the season leaderboard. So if you're new, now's the time to get involved with all of that. So here are the games, of course. Now, unfortunately, I do have some stats for this one, so we are going to be able to give you a good overview of this one. The next one might be a little bit tricky, but we'll see just how far we can get on with that one. So let's kick it all off with, of course, Bristol Rovers against Exeter now. Of course, this is the form as of recording. Of course, now these two sides have played each other 20 times 2003. We've got 6 wins for Bristol Rovers, 9 wins for Exeter. We've got 5 draws, of course, taking place on the 29th of December. Remember that, of course. 75% for Bristol Rovers as of recording. They were just one defeat past 6 up against the Exeter City side without a win in 5 now, again, as of recording. Their biggest win over Bristol Rovers, a 4-0 win. The biggest win the other way, a 3-1 win. They've scored 28 goals compared to Exeter City's 38 heading into this. And last time I played each other over at Bristol Rovers, it was a 1-1 draw back in February 2022 in League 2, of course. Prior to all of this, of course, Exeter did lose to Bolton on the 17th of December. Bristol Rovers with a 2-1 win over Charlton. But the odds right here, right now, we've got Bristol Rovers 6-4 with the victory, 9-4 is your draw, 7-4 is your win. As of recording, those odds will change. Of course, going to go with a 2-1 win for Bristol Rovers for me on this one, regardless. Even if they come into this on the back of a 10-0 stomping, I still think they'll come out top with a 2-1 win. Next, of course, we have Barnsley up against Fleetwood Town over at Oakwell. Now, these two sides, of course, have played each other 9 times, 2014, 5 for Barnsley, 2 for Fleetwood, 2 draws, of course. Barnsley's biggest win over Fleetwood, a 4-2 win. The biggest win for Fleetwood over Barnsley, just a 1-0 win. In fact, Barnsley have scored 17 goals compared to Fleetwood's 10 over the course of those 9 games. Works out around 1.89 goals a game and 1.11 goals a game for Fleetwood Town. Last round over in Barnsley was a 4-2 win for Barnsley back in April 2019. That was in League One. Of course, as of recording, Barnsley picked up a 2-0 win over Burton most recently, and of course, Fleetwood with a 2-1 win over MK Dons. The odds right here, right now, we've got Barnsley coming at you, a 6-4 for the victory, a 6-4 on, 30-5 is draw, 4-1 is your long shots. Of course, I'm going to go with, of course, Barnsley here, 1-0 win for them, taking the 3 points, and of course, keeping their dream alive. Morecambe over against Accrington, Stanley, bit over Northwest Country Clash, played each other 33 times 2003. We got 5 wins for Morecambe, 20 wins for Accrington, 8 draws, of course. Morecambe's biggest win over Accrington was a 2-0 win, the biggest win of the way, a 5-1 win. Morecambe scoring 36 goals compared to Accrington's 57 over the course of those 33 games. Works out around 1.73 goals a game for Accrington Stanley and 1.09 goals a game for Morecambe heading into this. Last time around over at Morecambe, it was a 3-3 draw back in September 2021. That was in League One last season. Of course, the odds right here, they've got 50-8 is your Morecambe, 21-10 is your 6-4 is your away win here. We're back in Morecambe with a 1-0 win against the grain, maybe, and maybe just enough to get them a little bit closer to safety. The Vegans up against Burton Albion, another bit of a relegation crunch clash. Now, these two sides locking horns on the 29th of December. Played each other 14 times, 2003, 6 wins apiece, 2 draws, of course, Forest Green Rovers' biggest win over Burton, 3-1 win. The biggest win the other way, a 4-1 win. Burton have scored 23 goals compared to the Vegans, 22 over the course of those 14 games. Works out around 1.57 goals a game for the Vegans and 1.64 goals a game for Burton Albion. Last time around though, in Vegan land, it was a 3-2 win for Burton back in December 2008. It's been a long time ago, so that was in the National League. The odds right here right now, we've got the Vegans 31-20 for the victory, 11-5 is your draw, and 70-10 is your away win here. We're going with a win for Forest Green Rovers, 2-1 win for them over Burton, of course, again, to boost their relegation hopes. Oxford United up against Charlton over at the Kazam. Played each other 21 times in 1993. We've got 6 wins for Oxford, 9 for Charlton, 6 draws, of course. Oxford, though, unbeaten in a whole run of games. Of course, I don't know in the 26th, though, but they come into this with the biggest win over Charlton, 4-0 win. The biggest win for Charlton over Oxford, 4-0 win as well. In fact, Charlton scored 34 goals compared to Oxford's 25 over the course of those games, 21 games, which works out around 1.62 goals a game compared to the 1.19 goals a game for Oxford United. Last time around over at the Kazam, it was a 2-1 win for Oxford back in August 2021. And of course, Oxford's odds right here, right now for this one. We've got 21-20 for the victory, 12-5 is your draws, 5-2 is your way. We're back in the Kazam, boys. 2-0 win for Oxford, and again, making a push up the table. Peterborough up against MK Dons coming at you at, what do they call it? I don't even know what they call it. The sport, I don't even know. Pleasure 29 times 2004. We've got 14 wins for Peterborough. We've got 11 wins for MK Dons, 4 draws, of course. Peterborough, those biggest win over MK Dons, 4-0 win. The biggest win the other way, also a 4-0 win. Peterborough, of course, scored 50 goals compared to MK Dons, 43 over the course of the 29 games. Works out around about 1.72 goals a game compared to MK Dons, 1.48 goals a game. Of course, there's a lot of goals between these two sides, of course, including last time around over at Posh. It was a 3-0 win for Peterborough back in the 16th of Jan 2021. Of course, the odds right here, right now, heading into this game way early, of course, 6-5 on is your Peterborough, 5-2 is yours, 60-5 is your draw here. But we're back in the Peterborough here, 3-1 win despite MK Dons recently appointing a new manager. Next up, of course, we have the current leaders, or the leaders as of recording. It's Plymouth up against Wycombe Wanderers, of course. Let's take a long hard look at this one then. Over down at the southwest. Played each other 22 times, 2003, 7 wins to Plymouth, 10 for Wycombe, 5 draws, of course. Plymouth, though, picking up a 2-0 win was the biggest win over Wycombe. Biggest win for Wycombe over Plymouth, a 3-0 win. They've scored 30 goals compared to Plymouth's 22 over the course of those 22 games. Works out around just a goal a game for Plymouth and 1.36 goals a game for Wycombe Wanderers. Last time around, though, about Plymouth, it was a 3-0 win for Wycombe back in November 2021, of course. Plymouth, just 1 win in 6 over Wycombe over the last 6 games, of course. The odds right here, right now, coming at you, we have Plymouth 6-5 in the victory, 23-10 is short, 11-5 is, of course, your Wycombe. We are making a push as well for the playoffs once again. Going to go with the leaders here, 2-1 win for the Green Army. Can, of course, they be top of the table heading into Matchday, into 2023. Meanwhile, Pompey up against Ipswich Town, bit of a zinger, this one coming at you over at Fratton Park. Now, these two sides have played each other 28 times, 5. 10 wins for Pompey, 11 wins for Ipswich, 7 draws, of course. Portsmouth, though, biggest win over Ipswich, 2-0 win. The biggest win the other way, a 4-0 win. And that's, of course, for Ipswich. And they've scored 32 goals compared to Pompey's 26 over the course of 28 games. Works out about 0.93 goals a game for Pompey, 1.14 goals a game for Ipswich Town. Last time around, though, over at Fratton Park, it was a 4-0 win for Ipswich back in October 2021. The odds right here, right now, we've got Pompey coming at you 9-4 for the victory, 6-5 is Ipswich, 9-4 is also the draw here. We're going to go with a 3-2 goal fest here in favour of Ipswich Town. I see plenty of goals in it. Can, of course, Ipswich keep up the heat with the tip of the top of the table. Meanwhile, Shrewsbury up against Port Vale coming at you over at Hillsborough. Played each other 9 times, 2003, 5 wins for Wednesday, 4 for Port Vale, no draws, of course. Biggest win for Wednesday over Port Vale, 3-0 win. The biggest win the other way, a 3-0 win for Port Vale. In fact, Port Vale scored 12 goals to Sheffield Wednesday's 11 over the course of those 9 games. Works out around 1.33 goals a game compared to the 1.22 goals a game for Sheffield Wednesday. Coming at you, though, last round over at Hillsborough in competitive action in the league was a 1-0 win for Wednesday way back in January 2005. It's been a long time, guys. The odds right here, right now, though, for this game, 6-5 on is your Wednesday, 12-5 is your draw, and 10-3 is your away wins. Port Vale going to go with a monster 3-1 win for, of course, Sheffield Wednesday over at Hillsborough. Meanwhile, Shrewsbury Town up against Cheltenham. Shrewsbury are in the mix here for playoffs if they can keep going. Played each other 18 times, 2004, 9 wins for the Shrews, 4 for Cheltenham, 5 draws, of course. Shrewsbury, though, our biggest win over Cheltenham, 3-1 win. The biggest win of the way, a 2-0 win. Shrewsbury, of course, scored 24 goals compared to Cheltenham 16 over the course of those 18 matches. Works out about 0.89 goals a game for Cheltenham and 1.33 goals a game for Shrewsbury Town. Last time around, though, over at Shrewsbury, 3-1 win it was back in December 2021, around about this time last season. Of course, the Shrews, odds right here, right now, 21-20 for the victory, 23-10 is draw, 5-2 is your away win here. Which way will we go? Going to go with a 1-0 win for Shrewsbury. That's right. Keeping up the heat at the tip of the top of the table, or at least the middle of the table. Anyway, Derby County up against Cambridge coming out on the 30th of December. Now, these two sides have played each other just the one time. I'll talk about that shortly. In fact, let's talk about it now. It's a 2-0 win for Derby back in Cambridge, back in October this season. Is it this season or was it back in January? Actually, back in January last season. Of course, the dates and America, confusing, all that kind of stuff. 2-0 when it was last season over at Cambridge. Meanwhile, what have we else we got? We haven't got much to talk about with this one, but anyway, Derby 2-1 on for the victory, 3-1 draw, 11-2 is your away winner. We're back in Derby here, 2-1 win for them. They are in the mix, and they are going to be in the mix for a long time this season. And then, of course, wrapping up at the end, Lincoln City up against Bolton Wanderers coming at you over at Sincilback. Pledge of the 5 times 2010, 1 win for Lincoln, 4 for Bolton, and no draws. Of course, biggest win for Lincoln. The only win was a 5-1 win compared to Bolton's, of course, 4-0 win was the biggest win for them over Lincoln. They've actually scored 11 goals compared to Lincoln. 6 over the course of those 5 games. Works out about 2.2 goals a game for Bolton and 1.2 goals a game for Lincoln. Last time around, though, over at Lincoln, it was a 1-0 win for Bolton back in August 2021. Of course, the odds here for this game, 90-10 is your Lincoln, 9-4 is your draw, 30-10 is your away win here. Which way will it go? 2-2 goals galore on this one, of course. No goal, just one goal, 1 point apiece. Not really making any headway in the league table on this one. That's, of course, my take on it, guys. Be sure to get your picks in here. Cut your forecast League One. Again, the next few days are going to be a bit weird, but we're going to keep up to date with the games over in League One. Until then, subscribe, thumbs up, of course, hit the little bell. Of course, I'll see you soon whenever I return. But until then, keep on predicting.